Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Jennifer Mercedes.
I gotta pick up.
Hi, guys.
Oh, can you feel the energy already?
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, come on, live from New Jersey, all the way to Chicago. Flew in this morning.
Did you really?
Yes.
So, are you like exhausted, or did you have a cup of
No,
coffee?
I'm good.
No days off.
It's just like driving into the city anyway.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was just some traffic in the air.
Yeah.
Right?
So
are we live?
yeah,
We're
we are
live.
Oh,
We're live.
hi.
So, do you want to give everyone a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Everything?
First of all, I am Chris Weber, producer here. Andy Martinez.
Digital and social producer. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything for La Vida. So,
So I have been hosting my own show called La Chica Deportes for the past 9 years.
Okay.
And where I interview athletes and go around spring training sometimes and really just like to produce content that is entertaining, that is informative, but really just what I'm passionate about. So
Sure.
a lot of the stuff that I do cover has to do with a lot of the foundations that players have. It's something that I like to give a platform to just because I believe it's not something that's covered on a regular basis. So if there is a player on my show that I know has a foundation, it's something that I do like to cover. I went to Rutgers University. I
Okay.
studied TV and media. I was just telling the girls before that I thought I was going to be an actress. I did go to school for acting, and that didn't happen. Ended up going into news and now sports, and so here I am.
How did you start your own TV show?
So I was interning at Telemundo, and while I was interning there, there was one show. The producer needed somebody to go out and do interviews, and I went out and started doing interviews, and it was actually the entertainment side. Then she went on and she was producing another show. She asked me if I wanted to continue to do the entertainment. I said, no, actually, can I do sports? With no knowledge really of what it was to be a sports reporter, but it was something that I did like. I was always been a baseball fan. Then this opportunity, a couple of years later on down the road, the opportunity presented itself where this channel from the Dominican Republic had airtime, and one of the people that worked there asked me, would you want to have your own show? And I said, sure. I mean, meanwhile, I had no idea what it was to produce my own show and everything, but because I did go to school for TV and media, and I did take classes on production and all that stuff, I was prepared, and that's how it started. And when I was working at the other show, they started calling me Chica Deportes. And when I was thinking of like, what's going to be the name of my show? I was like, well, wait, just call it Chica Deportes.
Right. Yeah, you got the name right there.
That's the name. And now nobody calls me Jennifer. Everybody calls me Chica Deportes.
Everyone.
Yeah, the players, everybody. I mean, I work very closely with Nelson Cruz, as you guys know, and our little boomstick crew, they're like, hey, Chica's doing this, Chica. No, nobody calls me Jennifer.
That's
Maybe
nice,
my
though.
family, my parents and stuff, but
Yeah.
So that takes
outside of that, it's Chica.
Yeah, did that take some getting used to?
Yes, and it's funny because sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I hear Chica Deportes, and I'm like, oh, they're calling. Yeah, they're
Me?
calling me.
Yeah,
Especially when you're in New York, and I don't know if you guys,
Yep.
you're from the area, so you've been to Washington Heights. I mean, it's a very Dominican, Latino based area, so I do have a lot of followers out there. Until when they'll be like, hey, Chica Deportes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely me that they're talking to.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's funny. 9 years.
Yes,
That's crazy.
9 years.
Do you have a favorite story?
Oh my goodness, I have many favorite stories. A couple of favorite interviews. One of my favorite interviews actually was Lou Piniella. I interviewed him a few years ago at that event. It's one of the organizations that Major League Baseball has, where they support former Major League and minor league players. And Lou Piniella was one of the guests there. And little did I know at the time that he spoke Spanish, speaks Spanish very fluently, and he has Spanish lineage. So we talked about for a good 15 minutes talked about his ancestors and his lineage to Spain and how he was going to Spain and everything. So it was actually very cool to be able to interview him and have that story come out. And then the fact that I was in front of all of the media that was there waiting to interview him. After I interviewed him, they were like, well, that's like the best interview anybody is ever going to do today, so I don't think we're going to interview him. So that was that. Actually, that's one of my all-time favorite interviews that I've done was with Lou Piniella.
That is cool.
Somebody
awesome.
that I grew up watching.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure your family.
Yeah.
Huge Yankee fans.
Yeah. Yes. I grew up a Yankee fan, so to be able to interview him, I mean, actually, I also have another favorite interview, and just because I was like super, starstruck. It was Andy Pettitte just last year, because I loved Andy Pettitte growing up. I mean, if Andy Pettitte was pitching, I was watching that game. So when I saw him at Yankee Stadium last year, I was like, oh my God, like I need to interview him. And I went right up to him, and he was super nice, super gracious, and gave me the time I needed. And it was a short interview, but it was like, oh my God, I got to interview Andy Pettitte.
Yeah.
Isn't there always tough, like, making those couple steps, because you never want to, like, interview your heroes.
Yeah.
Not even heroes, but the people that you really just enjoy. Because
Yeah.
what if he's like, beat it, Chica. Like,
Yeah, I know,
I'm
because
busy.
then
it takes
then
away
it takes
a little
away.
bit.
Yeah, but I saw him speaking with the other members of the media, and he seemed super cool. So I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go up to him, and he was super cool, just like Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, his last year he was retiring, and I don't know how often you guys have been to the stadiums and to ask players for interviews, but I went up to him. It was before BP had started, and I asked him, I was like, Derek, if you have a minute or two, and he's like, oh, not right now, but I'll be back when I come back. In my head, I was like, he's not coming back. He's just trying to be nice. And he came back. He came and he's like, okay, we're ready. I'm like, oh God.
Right.
He just came back, and that was a fun interview for me too.
That's awesome.
Because I told him I had a life-size poster of Derek in my room when I was growing up.
What did he say?
He was like, "Oh, you mean like last year or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, like last year."
Well played, Derek.
Yeah.
That's great.
What's your first question? Like, same thing. What was your first question to Andy Pettitte?
What was my first? We were talking about. Well, it was just when Judge was like doing big stuff. So I think we were talking about. And I think my first question to Andy was, what did he think about the team, the youngsters on the Yankee team, and where did he see them going?
But did you have an icebreaker moment, like before the camera started rolling, similar to Derek?
Yeah. So he was interviewing. Somebody was interviewing him, and as soon as he finished, I was like, Andy, if you got 1 minute for me, that's all I want. He's like, all right, I'll give you 2. And I'm like, okay, great.
I'll take
Even
3.
better. And I actually took 3 because as a journalist and as a reporter, you always say 2, but it's always like 3.
Yeah.
Nothing can get done in 2.
Right.
You're trying to hustle up that question in 10, and then they answer. It's the wild card, right?
Exactly. Especially when they answer and they speak well, that they tend to extend the question. It's like, okay, actually I only need to ask 2 questions and get an answer for like 3 or 4.
Right.
That's like you with Alex Cora.
Yeah.
Where he said, we were told Alex Cora said, or not Alex Cora, but the Red Sox had said, you've only got 5 minutes with Alex Cora. And he just walked out, and I don't think the cameras were set or anything.
No, because it was the same thing, like, they're like, oh, Alex Cora's coming out for his managerial press.
Yeah.
So in the dugout, so we just thought it was going to be like, we'll ask 2 questions after that. So we start, like, breaking down. He walks up and around, he goes, all right, guys, I'm ready. And we're like, I'm like, start rolling.
Yeah.
So our lights were down. Our camera guy was a little upset about that, but I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You take the advantage. Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, break down, Hurricane Maria, and where were you for that day? And that he started talking.
Yeah.
And he just started, and he told his story, and that
Yeah.
time just kept going. And you were watching the clock.
Right, because I was basically like the production assistant on that shoot, and we had, they said 5 minutes, and they have a big clock. So like if this is Alex Cora and you're Chris, I'm here and I'm looking at the big clock, and I'm like, okay, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna get trouble. And he gave us like,
Right.
he didn't say like super long, but he gave us more than the 5
He
minutes
gave
that they
us
had
more.
told us. But it was awesome.
Listen, once you have them, they're the boss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the public relations people see it. Like if they're super engaged, they don't give it this.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna talk. And if
Yeah.
they're talking about their homeland and stories and anything, like they understand what's good and what they can. All right, we're out of here.
It's funny because I actually have a kind of a similar story with Carlos Beltran, and he was actually the first baseball player I ever interviewed. And I had gone up to him first time at the stadium. It was at Citi Field, Shea Stadium at the time. And I went up to him and I said, Carlos, if you have any time. And he said, yeah, sure, when I finish batting practice. And I'm like, okay. So, batting practice takes forever. So I thought it was never going to happen. I went over to the visiting clubhouse, the visiting dugout. And my cameraman, he was filming some B-roll. He comes running towards me. He's like, Carlos is looking for you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, crap! So I'm like running to the other side of the field, and like I'm like, okay, yeah, set up and just press record. And he's like, wait, I gotta focus. And I'm like, no.
Record, we'll figure it out.
I don't care. Does that take a long time? I don't know. Just do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know. Don't you love it when it's like you are so focused on that player in his time?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you just need to figure out your stuff. But you need to do it now.
Exactly. You need to do it right now.
I need about 5 more minutes.
No.
There's no such
I
thing.
can't give you 5 seconds.
Exactly.
That's hysterical. That's awesome.
We know those stories, man. There's a lot of them. So you go English and Spanish.
Yes, los dos idiomas. Both languages.
I like it. Do you ask players for what they prefer beforehand?
The Latino players mostly would prefer to speak in Spanish just because it's their native tongue and obviously are more comfortable with that. And then I do Spanish interviews with the American players. I have been pleasantly surprised with a lot of non-speaking Spanish players who actually do speak Spanish.
Who?
Alex Bregman is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, his Spanish is like another Dominican. I mean, he's like, dímelo, que lo que, and he's super cool. I love Alex Bregman, and he actually has some Spanish roots. I was able to ask him during the World Series, and it was because his swagger is just different. He's not like your typical, all around good American, player. I mean, he's got that swag that Latino players and African American players tend to have. And so I asked him, I was like, where does it come from? And he's like, actually my grandfather is Puerto Rican, or great grandfather, one of those. So Alex Bregman is one. Who else? Oh, well, Adam Jones. His Spanish is a little choppy, but he still pulls it out, and he says he's like an adopted Dominican. He's somebody that goes over to the Dominican Republic a lot when it comes to David Ortiz Foundation. So he's always there, and he's always there drinking his Presidente, which is a beer from the Dominican Republic. So Adam Jones definitely. There's a couple of other guys that it's like, oh, wait, you speak Spanish.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, let's get into this. Okay, who was it? Oh my God, his name just escaped me. But former manager for the Cardinals,
Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa.
Yeah.
Tony La Russa, and he likes Dominican food. He likes a lot of Latino food. He likes plátano maduros. Can remember that one. So yeah, there are a lot of players that will pleasantly surprise you, and you're like, oh, okay, we could do this in Spanish, or we could do this in Spanglish,
Right.
Yeah.
which is the new language for us anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Mixing a little bit of both.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what Francisco Lindor speaks, he told me.
Yeah, he speaks Spanglish.
That's what him and his family. He's like, we're just in and out.
Yeah.
We're just in and out. Keep it going.
They don't go to the Centro Comercial, they go to the mall.
The mall,
The
yeah.
mall, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Spanglish is definitely prevalent.
I mean, that's what we speak in my
Yeah,
house.
me too. Yeah,
Right?
same for me. I'm especially when I don't know something. I'm like, "Mami, puedes pasar the dip?" Yeah, like whatever,
Yeah,
whatever. Like you
yeah.
just don't know. It's
Yeah.
just you gotta mix it in sometimes.
Yeah. What surprises you most about these guys that you're like truly impressed? I know you talk a lot about their charities and foundations, but like that type of thing.
I guess not surprises me because I've been around them for so long, but players are human beings. They are just like you and me, and when you see them outside of the stadium, they're just like us. For the most part, I haven't had any run-ins with any guy who's too cocky or, too good for himself or anything like that. So a lot of the guys are just super nice people. you know, really good men who work, who happen to play baseball and, you know, make a great living for themselves, but they're also just really great guys.
Yeah. Did you go to spring training this year?
No, I did not have the opportunity to because I had some other work to do, but I usually do go. So this was the first time in 9 years that I didn't go to spring training.
I know.
Was it a little weird not getting down there?
Yeah, it was actually. It
Yeah.
was a little weird because every year I'm either in Florida or Arizona. So I like, and I'll just say this, I like Arizona better in the sense of everything is close.
It's all there.
Yeah.
I know.
Florida.
One location and everything's a half hour.
Yeah, Florida is. I did all of them one time, and I said never again, because I mean I was beat.
Yeah. Did
Exhausted.
you do like
Yeah, that's hard.
vlogging from the road? I mean, that's like.
I did a little bit of that, and I mean, but it was just like when you're driving from, like, let's say Fort Myers up to Tampa. I mean, there's like long stretches of road where there's just nothing. It's just
the Tamiami Highway.
yeah.
Come on.
Yes, exactly.
And, right. Can
Yeah.
pull off and eat
Yeah.
lunch with an alligator. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, but you know, you go to Florida, and I get my teams as far as the Yankees, the Mets, you know, Boston, and the Orioles. So it's like a give and take. But Arizona, I wish Florida was set up like Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely.
All in Miami or like the Tampa area.
Yeah.
That would make it.
I'm a Red Sox guy. How do you feel about the Red Sox
This
and their
year-
just their players? Just I'm gonna say it, just off the field.
Listen, I was super happy that they won. And
Thank you. That makes two of us.
It makes a whole city.
And Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico, exactly. And Puerto Rico. No, I was super happy. I was so happy for Alex Cora. I mean, not only was he a great manager that last season, but he's also super nice person, like super nice guy. And the team, they deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if there was a team that deserved to win last year, they were the team
hands down.
that deserved to win, and I was happy for them. I mean, when I said, you know, if the Yankees don't make it, I need Boston to make it because they deserved every moment,
Right.
everything that happened there. The players are super cool, super relaxed. I mean, you would think also like, oh, they're the Boston Red Sox. No, it's like super cool, super chill,
It's cool.
and just really nice guys as well.
Yeah, they
Super talented.
said when Papi was there and Russell, who was in earlier, talking about like seeing like Jose Abreu by himself and sitting there, and how like he's like, we're losing an opportunity to like talk to these guys. Like Papi used to have the Latin corner. That's what they call the locker room. It was all like the Latin guys, and I'm sure, you know, going in there and like, you know, like right who to go to.
Yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
you see those
yeah.
guys, and it's awesome, man. I mean, those guys, they're the best guys to interview because they all have incredible stories of where they come from.
Yes, that's
Right?
very true. It's once you start talking, you find out certain things. You're like, oh my god, wow, and then it's like, and then it becomes a great story
Yeah.
to share. Yes,
Yeah.
most
It's
definitely.
like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, nothing. I've done nothing.
John on Facebook says great interviews today. Thank you, John.
We're only as good as our host,
Right.
as our interview.
Right, exactly. John, or sorry, not John. We had Russell Dorsey of MLB.com on earlier. He was great. Now we have Jennifer, who's also great. So thank you for
you.
joining us.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
a lot of
having
fun.
Yeah. Jennifer, what about, not to stay on the Red Sox, but we will just for a minute. But
Your Red Sox homer side is showing.
he's like, just say everything good about Boston.
no, I don't even have to say it. I just know it's going to be good. Big Papi, his foundation and his event in the DR, I know
Yeah.
you've been there.
I love David. I mean, David is probably one of my favorites, and what David does is save lives. And when you say that, and then you see it, it really hits home. I was able to go to the hospital that he works with. So what David does basically is his foundation provides heart surgeries for kids in the Dominican Republic as well as the New England area. When you go to the Dominican Republic, there is a lot of poverty, and there are a lot of kids who are in need. I mean, the wait list is very, very long. So the hospital that he works with, which is Setimat Hospital, does the operations at cost, which is only $5,000. So with $5,000, they're able to save a kid's life. And he's I think up to this point, they've saved around 800
That's
lives,
awesome.
Incredible.
kids' lives. So it's like it's even more impactful when you see them, when you see their faces. I was able to go to the hospital, and there was a newborn who was there, sitting there, waiting to be operated on. You know, when you see it like that, and he's saving these kids' lives and giving them a second chance, giving their families a second chance at life, because a lot of these families, if it weren't for David, they don't know what they would be doing. You know, I mean, to find the money to provide for the care for these kids. And then it's not only the surgeries. I mean, they provide aftercare as well. And they train nurses to provide that aftercare as well. So what David Ortiz does, I mean, hands down, one of the best foundations that there is, period.
Yeah.
When you're saving lives, I mean, he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize.
And nobody is more clutch than David Ortiz. So it's like, with those clutch hits, like his exuberation, how happy he is. Imagine getting that phone call. You just saved another kid's life.
Yeah.
What? Like,
so
what's
awesome.
that? What's
Yeah.
that? So to see him in the hospital, what was that like?
No, I mean, and I know that he 100% just, it makes his day. And I think, and he said this before, it's nothing, there's nothing more important to him that has happened in his life than being able to get those calls that he saved the kid's life. I think 100% I know the World Series was, you know, awesome, but I know that he would give that up.
Absolutely.
You know,
trade it all in.
Trade it all in if it's just to save lives.
One kid, let alone 800.
Let alone 800, exactly.
You know, 800 kids.
Yeah. So what David does, I mean, every time I get a chance to speak on it, I do, just because it's amazing what the David Ortiz Children's Foundation does here in the U.S. as well as in the Dominican Republic.
We had a guy on that runs the Pujols Foundation, and he was telling
He's another
stories
one.
of a kid they saved in the Dominican, that they all came together and they got these doctors, and I think they flew him to St. Louis and they saved his life. And they were just over there a couple years ago, and they walked up to this field, and there's that kid playing soccer.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just incredible stories.
Yeah, and the work that his team does, Nelva is one of the board members down in the Dominican Republic, and she actually got involved because she has she's had heart surgeries as well, and the work that she's put in while having heart surgery, preparing for this wonderful event in the Dominican Republic, that I would tell everybody, if they have the chance and the means to go out there and visit and support, please do so, because not only are you saving a life, but it is so much fun.
Yeah.
We call it Team No Sleep when we're down there, because it's literally 3 days of no sleep.
Right.
And I mean, you're golfing, you're partying, and you're saving lives.
You're saving
all
lives.
at the
Big
same time.
three.
Yes.
The big three.
You are literally living your best life.
You're living your best life.
At your the golf classic. And
Right?
Yes.
Smiling, crying,
Yeah.
laughing, all in the same breath, right?
Yeah. I was able to actually do a feature piece with ESPN for the David Ortiz Foundation the year that David was retiring, and we interviewed one of the kids that he had helped early on during the start of the foundation, and now he wants to be a doctor because of what the doctors did for him.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So not only did he have this impact in his life, but now he's having a second type of impact in what he wants to do in the future, you know? So it's awesome.
For everyone else that's like, I want to be a baseball player because he is.
Yeah.
No.
He wants to be a doctor because he wants to be able to provide the same type of care that he was provided with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Give us another one. Who else is out there that's one of your favorites? Players?
Oh, Nelson Cruz, obviously. If I don't mention Nelson, I will be fired.
Boomstick.
The Boomstick 23, the Boomstick 23 Foundation is Nelson's baby as well. But Nelson, I mean, forget about being an underrated player. I think he's a very underrated player. Nelson is one of the most consistent players that there is in Major League Baseball. Every year he's posting great numbers. And honestly, I don't know how he does it, because he's a super busy guy and works out. If you follow, he's a good one to follow on Instagram, social media, just because if you follow his regimen and even when he's in the off season, all the workout that he puts in, I mean, it's crazy. But then he not only has time to do the workouts, he's also out here in his hometown. He did a dental clinic that was a week long out in Montecristi, which is where he's from. Then he had a medical clinic right after that dental clinic was over. Then he has a baseball clinic right after that medical clinic, like it's like a week long of community, giving back to the community. And the baseball clinic is a lot of fun because he has all of his baseball friends come out. This year we had Robinson Cano, Starling Marte, Miguel Andújar, who else was there? Juan Soto from the Nationals. Carlos Gomez was there last year. Had a lot of older players as well who were retired. Names escape me at the moment, but there's a lot of players that come out and just spend time with these kids and give them the basics on what's important in baseball. And the kids that may not have these opportunities were it not for Nelson. And so the fact that Nelson is always, available to his community is one of the things that I applaud. He also helped build a new police station in his hometown, which was much needed. And they're actually going to be building a center, like a computer center, on top of that police station for the community. So it's going to be internet and all that stuff available to the
That's
town
awesome.
as well. And one of the things that Nelson actually really is trying to focus on is education and baseball. So when it comes to a lot of the minor league players who may not have an opportunity to get a full education, provide them with the opportunities to gain a diploma, GED, I'm going to say GHD, a GED, and to really be able to get that next step when it comes to education, because he comes from a family of teachers. So for him, education was very important. His family would not let him play baseball unless he went to night school to finish high school,
awesome.
So he knows how important education was for him and is for him and how it's impacted him in his career. So he wants that availability to be, for all, not just, those who can.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to interview Nelson at spring training, and there is a reason that all those big names that you named go to his clinics, because he's that good a guy.
Yeah.
It's not fake. Like, this guy sits down, his smile is from here to Dominican, right? And it's just like, and he will just talk to you. He's so genuine, and afterwards he will sit around and talk with you. And talk more.
That's awesome.
I saw him like a couple weeks after that at they were playing here in Chicago. Came up and talked to us again, not on camera, just like, how are things going? Just talking.
One of the most genuine people you will ever meet is Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, and we did like an MLB Charities video that we're gonna run right now, and Nelson he's maybe my favorite part in the whole video, because it's so incredible what he has done for the police and the fire department.
The fire department as well.
And the Dominican.
Well, he was with Seattle donated gear for the fire department as well. So he did a lot of work with Seattle while being out with the Mariners as well. So shout out to them for helping and always being a part of his community as well. And I know that Minnesota is going to do the same thing, just because, like you said, once you meet Nelson, it's hard to say no.
It's hard. And he's just gonna engulf himself in that city.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
there's nothing you can do about it.
Listen, and he was with the Orioles. They loved him. Seattle, like
Rangers.
Anywhere he goes, he's going to be loved. So I know that the city of and everything, they're going to embrace him, and he's going to embrace them as well.
So the best stuff about these guys is literally the work they do off the field. And in this next video, we'll show you some MLB charities that are near and dear to our hearts, and you'll see the true people that they are, and we'll come back and discuss it.
Awesome.
Yo sé lo que pasa trabajo, yo sé lo que pasa hambre, y por eso que yo soy que soy.
We're here in this world for a purpose, and it's not about myself and being a big league player. It's about something bigger, and I believe there's so many people, they're going through tough time and they need people to help.
I like to help a lot of people. The reason that I do that because I like to give back to the community, and at the same time, my children, I want them to learn how to do it, so in the future they can help a lot of people too.
A mí me gustaría, ¿verdad?, tener una gran casa, ¿verdad?, un día y poder ayudar a la gente y a los niños, más que todo los más necesitados.
I went to church one day and pastor said, it's easy when you see those commercials on TV and you feel sad for those people, but you don't do anything about it. In that time, I realized it was time to do something. And from that point on, we've been used everywhere.
I make a baseball clinic every year, and everything rise I give it to the little league team from my hometown.
Whenever you go back home and see somebody like laying in bed because they don't have a wheelchair, and then you just give them a wheelchair, and then you see their smile, and you see how happy they are. I mean, I think that's what life is all about.
A friend of mine who lost his house completely because we don't have the fire truck in my hometown. So back then I was with the Rangers. They connect me with fire department in Arlington, and I buy the ambulance and they donate the fire truck. Since then, I collect equipment from the fire department in Seattle, and I send it to Dominican, and I give it to the whole country. Along the way, I be stopped a lot of people telling me that thank you, and I react like, why? What happened? Like, because your ambulance, because of you, my dad, my uncle, someone related is alive. There's no better feeling to help people who need.
Chills. I get chills watching
That's
that.
awesome. I love it. I love it. I love to see. Listen, I'm a total sappy type of person. So when I see the positivity, it's awesome, especially in the world that we live in today. So anything positive is awesome.
In the true meaning of a great video, you should learn something new every time you watch it. And watching it today, Jennifer took some of those pictures in that video that Andy and I just found out as we were watching.
Yes, well, I mean, as I said, I work very closely with the Broomstick 23 Foundation, and I am very much a part of when he has done the clinics, and I'm there taking the photographs and everything.
Well, thank you for making our video better.
You're welcome. Anytime, guys.
People helping people.
Yes.
I love it.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. I love it. Yeah, I mean, you guys have a list. You guys could have a list of players that truly give back and do a lot of work in their communities. And I mean, not even just Latino players, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you guys know Kershaw and his foundation and what he does. I mean, he's not Latino, but he's got his foundation set up in the Dominican Republic. He's got an orphanage out there that to me was like, oh my God, wow. You know, the fact that he would want to open up this orphanage out in the Dominican Republic where he has really no ties to is amazing to me. And the fact that he wants to, give his time to kids down there is awesome. It needs to be applauded and acknowledged as well.
Yeah. We had a story on VidaBaseball.com last week about David Valley, former big leaguer, who same thing. He helps out in the Dominican a lot.
This is a lot with Esperanza, right?
Yep, with Esperanza. Yeah. So it's, it is interesting that obviously we focus and we highlight the Latino players, but they're not the only ones too that give back too, and it's awesome to see that.
No, that give back to the Latino community. Yeah, that's much needed. Pujols is somebody who does a lot with strikeout baseball. I love what him and Deidre, his wife, are doing with strikeout baseball because it is a problem not only here in the U.S. but worldwide when it comes to child sex trafficking and slavery. It's just awesome.
Mike on Facebook says that was a very inspiring video. Love that these gifted athletes do what these gifted athletes do for others.
Yes,
that's for sure.
100%. Because that's what you're going to build your legacy on.
Yeah.
Right. In the end of the day, at the end of life, you're going to look back and, what did I do to help? I had this platform to help, and how did I do it?
Yeah.
Right.
The Dave Valley story is pretty awesome. He was playing in the Dominican.
Yeah.
Right.
And the players, they didn't ask for autographs. They were asking for gear.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't want your autograph. We want your ball or whatever, your bat, whatever. It was, Yeah, it's an awesome story.
Yeah, I actually met him at, I knew who he was, but I actually met him at the David Ortiz Foundation this past year, and he told me the story, and I was like, yeah, and it's like a lot of stories with a lot of the guys down in the Dominican Republic at the academies. A lot of those guys, they don't want the autographs, they need the equipment and the gear, and it's awesome how he was able to get that to happen.
And my favorite line in that whole article was, I looked at my wife and we both said, we got to do something.
Yeah.
We got to do something to help, and we started this foundation. Kudos to you, man. That's awesome.
And he's continued to not only help players, but what he's doing through Esperanza with helping small businesses and women and stuff like that in the community is really great.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. It's touching, for sure.
It must be so cool to go to a event like that and just see these people walking around and knowing what they're doing behind the scenes, or if you just pull them aside and ask them and could get their stories and why it means so much to them.
Yeah, it is, and it's a lot of fun, and when you're a fan of the sport, and then you're able to see that because most of the people that are at these events are there because they want to help, not just because they're going to have a good time, but they're there because they really want to give back. So when you're able to talk to them, just sit down and kind of just chat and find out where they're coming from and why they're here, because a lot of them have stories as to why they are at the events. Right. Anthony Mackie, the actor, Marvel, right? Anthony
I believe
Mackie,
so.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Well, one of the superheroes. One of the superhero franchises. Don't quote me. But he is somebody that has supported the foundation in the past, David's foundation, and it's because I believe it's one of his children, or he has a very connection to a child who had a heart condition, and he became a part of the foundation. So everybody has a story as to why they start to help.
Yeah.
Nelson's was a friend who lost his house in the fire, and then it all just snowballs from there,
Right. And he doesn't stop.
And
Right?
and he's not going to stop. We were just talking to my friends and assistants and Nelson's assistants, and talking about what we're going to do next and what's going to be the next event and what can we do to give back and to help out.
That's the crazy thing is it'd be so simple, oh, my buddy's house burned down, either A, I can build him the house, or B, get the fire truck down there, and then that's it. But to keep going is really, really awesome.
Very good point. Yes.
So they talk about impactful signings. Tell the city of Minnesota how lucky they are.
They have. Look, I said this before he was signed. I said any city that signs Nelson doesn't know how lucky they are to have him on their team, because not only obviously is he a great player, but he's also a leader. He's also somebody who's going to take the young guys under his wing, and he's going to be able to give them advice and tell them, this is what you need to do. And not only advice when it comes to baseball, but advice when it comes to stuff off the field as well. And even when it comes to media, how to handle the media. He's somebody that's able he's so well-rounded that he's able to give those types of advice. And he's so laid back in the sense that those guys aren't afraid to go to him.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where players can maybe be a little bit intimidating because they're these big superstars, and you think Nelson Cruz, oh my God, he's like this superstar. And there's a lot of prospects that are coming up, and I know now in the spring training, he's had the opportunity probably to talk to a bunch of the kids in the minor leagues, and to be able to help them out with, this is what you need to be studying, or you need to better your English, or you need to do this, you need to do that. The impact that Nelson is going to have on this Minnesota team, you can't quantify it.
No, and it's a whole pay-it-forward mentality with these guys, because he told me the story when he was in the minors. I think he went to Vlad Guerrero's house.
Yeah.
And during training camp, when he didn't know anybody and couldn't, struggling with English, but just hung out with Vlad. Yeah. And he had all the guys over, so now everyone just keeps paying it forward, and I can't get enough of those stories.
No, and then Nelson, he learned from, I forgot who it was, but maybe it was Vlad, where he cooked for the players for the visiting team.
Vlad's mom.
Yeah, so then Nelson started doing the same thing and bringing them food for so it's all
That's
about
amazing.
paying it forward. So it's if you guys are coming into town, you're gonna get some Dominican food, right?
Right. Yeah. We're gonna beat you on the field.
But you're gonna get some food. And a lot of those guys, they're all friends.
I know.
On the field, They're playing against each other, but they're not enemies. A lot of those guys really are friends.
That's the beauty of baseball. It's not that physical where it's like you
Yeah.
don't get rubbed the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right.
You might take a pitch high and tight, but
Yeah. Even though if you tell my mom is always the one who's like, but why don't they shake hands after the games? It's like you're in Little League. I'm like, yeah, I know.
because they're all having Dominican food back in the clubhouse.
right.
Believe me, they are shaking hands. You just don't
just
see
behind
it.
the scenes.
Just
exactly.
behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
Yeah, but actually that's one. I mean, it's totally going off topic, but when I just remembered when during the World Baseball Classic and Puerto Rico lost against the DR team, but they came and shook hands. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Mhm.
And it was such a wonderful, beautiful moment, talking about how baseball brings different cultures together and everything. And even though they lost, they appreciated that classic and how wonderful it really all was.
Sportsmanship.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's what it's all about. So what are you most excited about this year?
I am excited to see the Yankees and the Mets. I want to see how Robinson Cano does with the Mets. I think he's going to do pretty well. He loves New York.
Loves it.
He
Should never have left, right?
He loves New York. I know he loves
I mean,
New
he
York.
had 240 million reasons to leave.
No, but I know Robbie loves the city. He loves the fan base. He's comfortable playing there. So I'm excited to see what he does for the team and just to see the team itself. And the Yankees obviously have a young group of guys who almost made it to the end last year, and I think they have everything that they need. This year, wish Machado would have signed with the Yankees. I
think they'll be just
but
fine.
They are more than fine without him. So I'm excited to see what New York has to offer this season.
Yeah, I don't need them getting that much better.
No, I know you don't, but I am excited for Boston as well, just because, I mean, it's one of the teams that we see most often, And
if we can get that Red Sox rivalry back to every year, I'm good with that.
Yes, listen, I have no problem with that because it makes the game fun, and we like to watch that stuff.
Baseball's always better when the Yankees and Red Sox are both good. There's no
100%, and I am looking forward to the Twins. I think they are a team.
I think they could sneak up on
I think
Cleveland.
they're a team, that definitely you have to watch out for, just because sometimes people get lost just because they're all in the middle of nowhere now. Like these teams have a lot to offer, and I think the Twins really do have a really good, solid team.
I know for some of the things that you talk about, you were excited about the minor league pay increase.
Oh, yes.
You want to talk about that?
Well, I am happy that the Blue Jays took the lead on this and actually decided to increase the pay for minor league players by 50%, 56%, depending on the level at which they were playing at. I'm saddened that Major League Baseball hasn't made this decision much sooner. I know that they are in talks, but we have to see really where that goes. We know that Save Our Pastime Act passed with the government and all that lobbying and stuff. I'm anxious to see where Major League Baseball takes this, because it's something that needs to change like yesterday.
Yeah.
The fact that these kids, I call them kids, but they're grown men, but they're still kids. The fact that these guys have to work, the amount of hours that they work and struggle to pay rent, struggle to eat, it shouldn't be. I mean, you're treating your money makers like crap, basically.
Yeah, right.
And it's unheard of in any other industry. So I don't know why Major League Baseball, who makes billions of dollars every year, hasn't just said, okay, you know what, this needs to change now.
This should be the number.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm really happy that the Blue Jays really did take the lead on this. There are so many things that could be done when it comes to the minor league players. When it comes to living situations, I mean, they have access to all of these corporate sponsors. Build an apartment complex sponsored by whatever, where the players are only paying maybe a maintenance fee. No, because, I mean, they got to pay rent. They got to pay clubhouse dues. They got to pay for food. They have to pay for everything that anybody else does. And a lot of the Latino players who are really will be mostly impacted by the pay increase, they don't have a support system here in the U.S. They are the support system for their families back home. So when you're talking about a player making $1,500 a month, You got to pay rent. You got to buy food. You got to pay for transportation as well, because nobody's paying for that either. And then they got to send money back home. What are you left with? And a lot of these guys end up getting into so much loans and getting shark loans because they may have had a signing bonus, but where do you think that signing bonus went? You know, it went to buying a house for mom and dad, you know, buying a car or something that, you know, the necessities that are needed in life. And then that signing bonus, maybe it was $10,000, is gone. And a lot of the Latino players, they don't have the benefit of saying, I was drafted out of a university. They don't have that luxury of having had a formal education. A lot of the players from here who are, you know, who struggle as well, but it's not the same when you don't have at least an education and you know what you're handling, you know, even like financially. So this pay increase, I hope, also translates to providing better education for these players, because it's the minor league teams and the minor league players, they go through a lot, and they say it's a choice. You know, you choose to play baseball. It doesn't matter if I choose to play baseball. You're making money off of
Do the right thing. Right.
I mean, if those players aren't on the field, you're not making money. Nobody is going to go see an empty stadium. So I'm sure if I know Major League Baseball will hate that I say this, but if the players decide to sit out one day, how much money will you be losing? Mm-hmm. One day, you know? So really just, you know, they deserve to be treated way better than they are right now.
And that's a great point. I don't think a lot of people fully understand. Baseball does have billions of dollars. There's only 30 first-round picks every year. Yeah. They make the good signing bonuses. Yeah. Once you go second, third, fourth, that's what they're making, right?
Yeah.
Is that $1,500? Is that from like rookie ball?
That's like rookie ball. Yeah, rookie ball, and I think then it goes up to like now with the increase with the Blue Jays, it's going up to $2,500 a month, and I think $3,000. And then there is like a minimum, but it depends on the years you've spent playing and all of that other stuff. So there's still hundreds and hundreds of players who are making less than minimum wage. Adam Wainwright tweeted that one time he calculated he was making less than $2 an hour.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
could you guys imagine making less than $2 an hour?
Right.
You know?
It's unheard of, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Jose on Facebook says, yes, down with Boston, NYC, or New York for life.
Jose's got a real attitude today.
Listen, I'm a baseball fan, so I mean, I was part of that whole rivalry growing up and all that stuff. But right now, I appreciate baseball. I appreciate good players.
We just want the guys to get paid more.
Yeah,
down low.
Down low. Yeah, I mean, the guys up here, they're getting paid. And for every Mike Trout, there's hundreds of guys who are not making ends meet. You know,
they're not even making minimum wage.
They're not. Yeah, the fact that they're not making minimum wage, and the fact that you know, Congress or whatever the lobbyists were able to get that through. Saving our pastime. That saving our pastime is not saving our pastime. Right. I think saving our pastime would be taking care of these players. So I really do hope that the talks are serious, that Major League Baseball is having with the National Association of Baseball and all that stuff. So I really hope that changes sooner rather than later, because there's no need to be struggling, right? Like to eat. I mean, I've heard of stories of guys had a box of pizza for breakfast and then had it for lunch and dinner.
Mm-hmm. They just keep saving.
They just keep saving it. So why? That doesn't need to happen. You want healthy players out there on the field who aren't stressed about how am I going to pay this and what am I got to send money back home, and there's a family member who's sick, and then what do? You know?
Right.
So, yeah.
What about living arrangements?
Really quickly, on Instagram, we have a comment that says they need to get paid more at MLB level 2, more comparable, or they need to get paid more at MLB level 2, more comparable to the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's worry about the minor leagues.
Right.
Because at least once you're in the majors, I mean, the minimum is like $500,000, right? Mm-hmm. So that is a very healthy living wage.
Right.
But look, Major League Baseball has a lot to change when it comes to pay, not only with their players but employees as well, and that's something that's not talked about. But if you work for a major league, just think about it. You're working for a Major League Baseball team. You're stuck there for all of the games.
Right.
You're there from morning till the game is over, and some of those employees aren't even getting paid if you
$2 an hour.
calculated it,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So there's a lot when it comes to pay discrepancy in Major League Baseball, but those minor league players and the living situations, really, I think, could be one of the easiest things that could be solved. And Major League Baseball, take my ideas, please, because
they're for free.
They are for free, and it's because when I started covering baseball, I started out at the academies in the Dominican Republic, and 10 years ago I was able to see the conditions of some of these academies. Some of them are great. I mean, the Yankees and the Mets have one of the best facilities out in Boca Chica in the Dominican Republic. Some of them were not so great. And when I was able to actually see 10 guys to a room with no AC in the Dominican Republic, that's a problem. You're making millions of dollars. You are a U.S. team. Mm-hmm. You're a U.S. company, and those conditions would not be tolerated here.
I know. How do they get
exactly?
How do they get away with that?
Right. Exactly. So and I know Major League Baseball has done things and is trying to do things to make things right. This pay wage, that has to be of the utmost importance to them. And like I said, I mean, get a corporate sponsor, build dorms.
Right, build dorms. That's a great one.
That's
a great one.
Jose on Facebook says, respect the left coast, but it's all about the west coast.
The left coast. Listen, I'm an East Coaster, all right? So I don't know what you're talking about.
Boom.
But I got my friends on the west side. West side, what's up?
Well, hopefully they can start. The Toronto starts with Toronto.
It starts with Toronto, and let's hope. I mean, there's so many teams with so much money, and I know money talks, and
I'm sure these kids are scared to speak up too.
They are. A lot of these guys are super, super scared to talk because they think that they could be easily replaced, And within a sense, yeah, it's true. But if they all came together and spoke as one, like the guys who were suing Major League Baseball, I mean, it's for a reason,
Right.
And I believe that lawsuit has prompted them to be in talks, for the pay increase. I believe that lawsuit probably prompted the Blue Jays, to say, you know what, yeah, things need to change. There's no reason for our guys to be struggling. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're gonna make a change.
I hope so.
You're gonna be part of the solution.
I hope so. I think that us as people in the media, we have a platform, and if you don't use that for positive change, then there's no need for you to have a platform. If you just use it to spew hate and to spew negativity, honestly, sooner or later that's going to be gone. So the more positivity and change that you can bring, if I can speak into it, speak on it and throw it out there into the universe, I think it somehow, some way, it'll get handled.
Good. Well, we can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Major League Baseball, call me. Mr. Manfred, call me.
Yeah,
I got ideas.
Your phone is on 24/7.
Right.
Tweet at her. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of Jennifer Mercedes.
We see each other, and I honestly, it's just because I've seen the way that these guys live, and a lot of these guys struggle, and if you think about it as your brothers or your sons, your friends, you don't want them to be struggling like that. I mean, I've had made friends with players who were in the academies and asked me, "Can you send me something?" And I would ask maybe Nelson, or I remember getting Fernando Tatis to give me some gloves, batting gloves, so that I could send over to the academies. That should not happen. That should be provided to them.
100%. 100%. Well, we're going to end on just a quick note. 2 of the best words in baseball, opening day.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 days away. Last day of
National
spring training.
holiday.
Yeah.
It should be a national holiday.
It should be a national holiday. Yeah, get a day off.
Do you have a
work.
favorite opening day story, memory?
So baseball for me is really like the time that I spend with my father. So I've always sat down to watch opening day with my dad, and so that's probably like the most memorable. But as far as game goes, I remember there was an opening day with the Yankees and the Rays back in 2012. And it was like a back and forth type of game, and Carlos Peña ended up hitting I think it was the go ahead home run at the end of the game. So, those types of games always kind of stick out. But for me, opening day with my dad, being able to watch it and connect with him in that way, he is the reason that I actually was a baseball fan to begin with, and played softball when Little League and then high school. So that connection for me is what makes it opening day special.
Jojo Garcia on Facebook says play ball.
Play ball.
Play ball.
I like that.
Zapateando Cuba on Instagram says Emily Waldron on The Athletic did a wonderful piece on minor league pay. Excuse me. Yeah, if you haven't read it, that's a very, very good piece. She kind of went into full detail, had quotes. Very, very good story. If you have the chance, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready for the season to start.
I am too.
Yeah, I am so ready for it.
I'm
usually baseball means the warmth is coming, so I am just.
These winters just keep getting longer and longer.
Oh my goodness! I mean, even though today in Chicago is not that bad.
No, we'll take it.
I was telling them I put away my winter coat. It's spring. I put away my winter coat.
It's a mental thing.
Really?
It's a mental. Yep.
Yeah.
The winter coat is put away until at least November. So
good luck with
it might be a little cold, but it's spring.
You know we're
I
getting
hate feeling any type, and I'm from the East Coast, and I grew up, but mi sangre es dominicana, my blood is, Dominican. I am an islander, and I need heat.
Yeah. No, I can't do the cold either, but it's spring, so I'm going to get in this spring mentality.
Yeah.
And the winter coat is away. It's put away until probably November or December.
I love it.
Well, I can't wait for the season to start.
Yeah, me too.
Did you have a favorite Latin player growing up? I know Andy Pettit was obviously.
Oh, well, I love Pedro.
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez is probably one of my favorites. Watching him pitch throughout his career, and even in the end of his career, when I started working, he's a master at what he does, and he's just such a smart pitcher that it was really cool to watch him grow as a pitcher, as a player, to be able to know, okay, you know what, I don't have the speed anymore, but I can, pinpoint my locations, and I know what to pitch, and just watching his brain work. Yeah, I love watching Pedro actually, and I love actually watching him analyze, because you can see
he's awesome
the mechanics.
On
Yeah,
he's
I love Pedro. Yeah. That's probably one of my favorites.
Lucy on Instagram really quickly says it's not mental. The winter.
No, it's not.
It's mental for me.
I agree.
Maybe.
I agree.
On that note, we'll say goodbye to Instagram for today.
Goodbye.
Adios, Instagram.
It is mental.
Thanks for following. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter if you want to continue watching. We got some good stuff lined up.
Perfect.
Adios.
Well, Jennifer Mercedes, thank you so much. I guess probably all the comments want to know, do you drive a Mercedes?
Soon.
Soon.
Listen,
right now she's giving all her salary to the minor leaguers.
Hopefully one day I can do something to give back like that, and hopefully I don't have to. Hopefully Major League Baseball takes care of that. But just talking about me, a Mercedes, I actually lived a block away from a Mercedes-Benz dealer, and I always say I'm going to buy one one day.
One day she get a discount.
Yeah, right. I should. I mean, my last name. Yeah. Hello.
I was driving in today, and there was a car in front of me, a Mercedes SUV, and the license plate was "Love and Life."
I bet, right?
Yeah. I go, this is a nice little, entry into Jennifer coming on the show today.
Yeah. Hey, it's a sign.
It's a sign. There we go.
So we're good. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
This was so much fun.
Another hour that flew by.
Yeah.
I can talk baseball through my knees, man.
We'll have to bring you on too for sure throughout the year, and then when with Nelson Cruz, talking more about that, because there's a lot that I think we left a lot of meat on the bone for sure.
Listen, we can talk about Nelson forever. Nelson's coming to town April 8th, 9th, 10th, I think, twice actually in this month or this.
Oh, nice and early.
Month. So and early.
Gotta get over there.
Yeah.
Jose on Facebook says anybody but Justin, right? Yeah, or anyone but Boston, right? Sorry, I was reading.
God. Who are these? You haters.
And then she said Jen is awesomeness.
Oh, thank you. You are awesomeness too. Thank you for watching.
We'll end on that note.
Yeah.
Not this negative anti-Boston.
Anyone?
Boston's gonna be great. Don't worry. I mean,
I'm
Yankees
not worried.
may be better.
They may be better, but maybe not.
It'll be really good.
We'll see. We just hope in October they meet up to captivate the baseball audience.
And that's the World Series, isn't it?
And that's the World Series.
Yeah. Nobody cares after that.
Because everybody in Boston roots for two things: the Red Sox, and whoever's playing the Yankees.
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go.
And that's it. So thank you. Good luck with everything. We look forward to following you and seeing some more of your stories.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
guys
much for
having
joining.
me.
Yeah,
I
it was
loved
fun.
it.
It was
A lot
glad
of
your
fun.
opening day.
You too.